First off, if you have not watched Shorpy's video regarding the state of Brawlhalla, I would highly recommend that you watch that video. It's a great starting point for fostering much needed discussion about Brawlhalla and its game state. It will also give some context about the content I will be discussing in this video. Also, I think that this is a topic that should bear discussion. I will be in the comment section answering and responding to people that have concerns or questions. The more discourse that we, the community, generate, the more pressure there is from BMG to step in and respond. So recently, there's been a lot, and I really do mean a lot of talk about Brawlhalla, BMG, and anything and everything in between. Some people are frustrated that after several years of playing the game, there has been little to no change to problems that have plagued Brawlhalla's competitive integrity.
Put it in the game! I'm so sick of this fucking company! They're trash! Fix the game! It sucks playing the shit! And I'm fucking addicted! So I can't quit!
Others are rightfully upset that after BMG's constant announcements and promises to add things to the community, they are not anywhere to be found. And others are just upset that they lost 8 consecutive matches in Ranked. The latter two are fairly straightforward in criticism, but I do want to talk about the very first point that I mentioned. I do believe that competitive balance in a game like Brawlhalla is essential for its longevity and evolution. But one thing I feel I should make very clear is that Brawlhalla is a casual party game with a blooming competitive scene. And this plays heavily into my thoughts about casual versus competitive play regarding Brawlhalla in particular. Let me be clear right now. Regardless of whether you are a filthy casual or tryhard in ranked, one cannot disagree that Brawlhalla is first and foremost a casual game. Brawlhalla never set out to be this rising FGC title that can contend with long-standing titles like Smash Bros. And Street Fighter. I believe that it set out to be a game you can just boot up and brawl with friends or online in a matter of seconds. The fact that it has a competitive scene is something that should be respected and appreciated because enough people played and enough support was drawn for Brawlhalla to have a competitive area. But you don't go into a Target or a Walmart and then get mad at the workers and companies for failing to provide a 5-star restaurant experience, do you? Because they're retail stores, not restaurants. It's not really fair to expect BMG to implement constant balance changes in a game where competitively and fundamentally it is massively flawed. I think it is perfectly fair and reasonable to ask Blue Mammoth Games to take a look at their current balance state and consider modifying certain aspects of gameplay to bring certain weapons and game mechanics in line. What I think is unreasonable is expecting a complete overhaul of a system that was never even asked of by BMG. Brawlhalla is not a competitive title. It works as one, but really it just doesn't stand up against the other fighting games at a fundamental level. It doesn't even follow an RPS system of shield grab and attack. If you think about a game of soccer or football, if you change the fundamentals of these sports enough to the point where they are radically different from traditional instances of these activities, then there should not be an expectation for these games to be competitively sound or viable. Imagine soccer without a fundamental concept of a blocking or attacking system, or football with an offense-defense system. And yet, despite this, people are calling for sweeping changes to a system that was never meant to encourage consistent competitive play. Now yes, as the game gets older and more popular, certain aspects of the game need to be looked at to prevent the game from stagnating. But treating Brawlhalla like it's the second coming of Smash in terms of competitive balance just shouldn't be expected in my opinion. It is no secret to anyone that Brawlhalla makes most of its money from skins and crossover events. Because again, Brawlhalla is a casual party game that wants people to just enjoy a good brawl between friends. Something I do want to point out is that the changes made to Brawl at the highest level will also affect casuals as well. Changes at the Diamond level will affect team players as well. In games like Overwatch and League, balance patches are made on almost a weekly basis, and a good amount of them are quite impactful. Changing the game too much over a short period of time will effectively reset the meta of the game, having to have players relearn certain matchups or weapons due to the frequent changes. More is not always better. In some cases, certain changes can go as far as to break a character's utility completely due to dominance in pro play, like in the case of LeBlanc, where she saw several weeks with no play just because of how bad she was. Akali, Azir, and Ryze fall into this category as well, where they brought constant nerfs to these champions because of how dominant they were in pro play. As of writing this, these 3 champions have the first second, and fourth lowest win rates in their roles, with not a single champion breaking above 47%. Even though win rates do not tell the whole story, they do give some information if you pay attention to trends and really extreme outliers. Yet, these characters are all viable in pro play, but not non-pro play solely because of the changes made to these characters. And in case you were wondering, 3 out of the 4 champions I have mentioned have gone through some sort of rework. Rise has had literally 3 reworks. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Now imagine your favorite weapon, be it hammer, katars, blasters, whatever. Imagine if your favorite weapon was nerfed to the ground because of something that wasn't even your fault. Pro play cannot solely dictate game balance, as though their opinions are very much valid and more valuable than most of the player base. It could stand to potentially alienate some of their more casual fans. Imagine someone wants to play Jake from Adventure Time, but they cannot enjoy the character because one of the weapons they play is unacceptably weak. Their opinions are needed, but should not be extremely dominant. It should be noted though, that even though you can buff weapons that are generally seen as what some would call casual killers, you would introduce power creep into the game, or more than what is already in the game. If everything is strong, that is just as bad as a horribly balanced game. Introducing more resources into the community, such as full gameplay videos, weapons guides, and matchup guides, can definitely help bridge the gap that some casual players have when they get more into the game, and don't understand how to get over the mental hill that they have. When the Morph game mode came out, everyone was super hyped about it, as the game mode prevented you from throwing your weapon. You chose 3 legends, and you could swap between the legends all having one weapon. It made for some pretty cool combos. However, after this was released, there were some advocating for a Brawlhalla with a heavily reduced or eliminated weapon throwing mechanic in favor of this. Now don't get me wrong, weapon throwing is a really large problem with neutral game in particular, but getting rid of it will fix absolutely nothing. It's a microcosm of a bigger fundamental issue with Brawlhalla in its decision to base its entire fighting system around freedom of movement. Not to mention the potential implications of weapon swapping, meaning no more unarmed, no more gadgets, and no more weapon tossing, which people do enjoy doing. Think of this from the perspective of a lower elo or a total casual player. They can't play their casual party game as intended because of pressure from the higher elos on BMG to make changes to a system that was never set out to fully accommodate pro players. Because that is not what BMG's intention with Brawlhalla was, in my total opinion. There is no guarantee that the majority of your player base will be on board with a total sweeping change like this, and to do it solely on the basis of it being competitively frustrating is not enough to justify a change like that. I think, for the sake of this conversation, that there should be a group of long-standing Brawlhalla players that can help represent the game on a more real level to BMG. This would include pros, but also other experienced players and members of the community who may not be at a pro level. These are the people that can help bring forth issues and concerns that the community has. It would benefit pros, as they are players with quite a bit of experience, but it would also benefit casual players, as the discourse generated from the other experienced players would be taken into account as well. This is one of many potential ways that this can play out, but I think having a group consisting of long-standing players that can confidently give their thoughts about balance patches can look to benefit casual and competitive play. These are just my personal thoughts and opinions. I do expect some pushback and discussion, as I've had from people like Presidium and Alters, but none of it is malicious. It's okay to disagree and have discourse, because that is the only way a game can get better. I will also clarify that by no means am I saying to only base balance on casual play, but rather to consider it in the midst of all these changes being proposed. Otherwise we'd end up like Fortnite. But all of this is for a much higher purpose, and that is for BMG to please hear what the fanbase is saying competitively and casually. A healthy balance for this sort of thing is needed for the game's continued success. And I don't want it to sound like Brawlhalla should just completely ignore its competitive fanbase. But I do want to say to at least consider what it is we are asking for and how it affects players as a whole. Again, if you have any concerns or questions, I will be in the comment section to respond to people. We are potentially on the cusp of a new age for in Brawlhalla, and all of you should be a part of it. Join the discussion, please. The more the merrier.